Amber Rose surprised many of her followers after publicly endorsing Donald Trump. Amber posted a photo of herself posing next to Donald Trump and Melania with the caption Trump 2024. Now, social media was not having it. Someone wrote, imagine being an advocate for women's rights and endorsing Trump and his party who reversed Roe versus Wade. Wild. Another person wrote, unfollow with the quickness. He is against everything I thought you stood for. Bye, girl. Armand, what do you think?
First of all, I just think that, I understand that person's perspective of like, okay, how do you stand for women's rights and you're voting for Trump? But I also feel like, people should have the right to vote for whoever they want to vote for. It's a free country. So we shouldn't really care. We shouldn't be so upset if other people want to vote for Trump. There are going to be black people that vote for Trump. There are going to be women that vote for Trump. There are going to be gays that vote for Trump. And to be honest, in Amber Rose's case, perhaps, women's rights are not as important as other things that Trump represents to her. And so that's probably why she's voting for Trump. And I just think that that's her prerogative.
Which is crazy to me because listen, I love Amber Rose. I am a fan of hers. But the woman that was the founder of the slut walk and talking about, claiming the word and our bodies and having agency over our bodies, and that being such a major part of her platform. And then also being an ally, I believe, of the LGBTQ plus community. These are all the things that Trump stands against. You know what I mean? So it's like, I just don't understand people that continue to vote against their best interests of things that affect them, the lives of people that are close to them and their sisters. Al, what do you think?
Amber. Amber Rose, and I talk very highly and supportive of her here on the show. Whenever we're out on the carpets, Amber supports Fox Soul. She stops and talks, and she gives us time. This is what I'm going to say. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because everything that I thought she stood for as it relates to women's rights, this is the contradictory of that. However, let's talk about it. Most of the women that voted for Trump in the first election knew his stance on women's rights, and they still came out to the polls and supported him more than almost as much as white men, which was very crazy to me. So Amber Rose isn't doing anything that a large portion of women didn't do in the other election with Trump. For some reason, they find themselves attracted to his messaging. They find themselves attracted to his power, and they find themselves attractive to his administration and the things that he's going to focus on. I can't think in my head why any woman would ever vote for a man that wants to take your ability and your rights from you and your body. That makes no sense to me. And especially being that Amber Rose, of all people, with the slut walk, was an advocate for all things women's rights. But the disconnect is the same. It's the same as it was for the 2020 election, correct? Was it the 2020? No. The one before that. And then it's the one that's leading in the poll right now. Women are showing up more for Donald Trump than they ever have in the past, and it's sad to say the least.
I'm going to just correct you on one thing. Yeah, women did come out for Donald Trump and his support did go up. White women. 53%.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right.
Yeah, 53% of white women came out for Donald Trump. 96% of black women came out for the Democratic Party and continue to be a very, very solid. So with this conversation, right? And remember, Amber was on College Hill and her and Jocelyn got into that big old fight. And I hate that it makes Jocelyn, like people started to say, oh, was Jocelyn right about her blackness? But I'm not going to take her blackness away from her. But I'm just saying, I hate that was definitely trending all week. I will say this, she is standing with the other side on this one. Amber, come on back home, sis. Come on. He's not really, I understand he has charm. Trust me. I used to be his friend and I used to see a very charming thing. And I do not like the way he's Joe Biden is handling Gaza. I actually hate the way he's handling that. But I have to think about domestically, a lot of stuff that we have to deal with, the aftermath, the temperature of the country got so awful and people are forgetting the country was on fire. We were stuck in our house on lockdown. And the gas prices were low because we couldn't drive anywhere and there was a huge surplus. It wasn't because he had it so popping, y'all. When you really break it down to why things were the way they were, you got to look into the why.
Let me ask you this. What is the difference between being a white woman and a black woman? to me, they're both women. So whether there were 53% white women voting or black women voting, at the end of the day, women went out and voted for Trump, and he's taking women's rights from them. So I don't think the color really matters. And I think when we start getting into the colors, that's when people are like, well, just because I'm black, I don't have to be Democratic.
No, you don't
have to vote Democrat.
You don't, but I would prefer that if black people were going to lead the party, then they would support a more central kind of candidate like a Mitt Romney, like a John Kasich, like the former governor of Ohio that had some common sense. Trump is more of a cult leader than a regular Republican. Even he's more radical than the most conservatives of the party because he's playing to them. Trump used to be a very liberal Democrat, the things he used to stand for the people, for women's rights, for, giving back. And then he jumped ship when he became a Republican. He said, if I ever ran for office, I would run as a Republican because their followers are so stupid, they'll believe anything I have to say. So listen, there's some Republicans that I rock with that I actually like. But like, this is not one of them because I feel like he's not one in its core. I feel like he's playing a caricature. He started with how he was pandering to the Tea Party back in the day. And then, this whole Obama's not a citizen thing. He's playing on the fears. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we should just turn our noses at every Republican. The governor of Pennsylvania is actually a very liked governor by a very left-leaning state because he's not a moron. He's not an idiot. And he's not crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's just like.
So, Amon, the significance of white women supporting Trump is the hierarchy of power and influence in the country. So white women usually find themselves in support of Trump because more black women are in support of the Democratic candidate. And you have to understand that the race does matter. Unfortunately, they would rather support someone that will rip them of all their rights than to support someone that uplifts people of color and especially women of color, i.e. selecting a black woman as the vice president. So you got to understand the psychology that's going on. So the fact that more than half of white women are voting for Trump isn't speaking to his influence, it's speaking to their disdain of the uplifting of black women and black people in general.
And they're just listening to what their raggedy white husbands are telling them to do. Well, you better get in that booth and vote for our boy. Again, if Trump was the person that I used to know him to be before he became radicalized, I think he'd actually be a really good president because he has some sense. This caricature that he's playing is what I don't like. But the person.
So what I'm hearing, it sounds like, it's more of a racial undertone versus women's rights. So, but on our side, the black side, we're like focused on LGBT, women's rights and this. And they're like, we don't care about that stuff, whether we're gay, whether we're women. We're still going to vote Trump because we feel he made a better economy for us. And we don't care about you stripping us from our rights or you not liking gay people or whatever the case may be. And us on this end, we're like, well, we're here for our rights and we're here because we're gay and we our feelings. That's what it sounds like. That's what you're saying.
The Democrats have been known.
It's a little bit more deeper than that, but I see what you're saying.
Are more for social issues, more for they're more liberal. That's why they're called liberals, right? They're more liberal with their views. So like how the church would look down upon members of the community, right? The gay community, right? The Democrats are like, there's a home for you here. We accept you. We're Republicans. Well, evangelists are the ones that be like, no, that's dirty, that's terrible, that's bad, that's against God. Meanwhile, they all playing footsie in men's bathrooms and trying to molest boys on the low. They just don't do it out loud. We're gonna get deeper into this as we get close to the election. And I like that you're asking these questions, Armand. And I don't think it's naive of you. I'm glad you are because you represent people out there that have similar questions. And we should have these conversations, not shun these opinions. I think this is good. Okay, let's go.